I like my mug. I like my mug. Look at my mug. You just sit there and you wallow in it, right? We all need our time of wallowing. I believe we all need to sit there and wallow for ourselves and feel sorry for ourselves. But at some point, that has to stop. You can't sit there and wallow for yourself forever. And therefore, at that time, you need a plan. Very cool mug. Right. What is going on, beautiful people of the world? Another very exciting day, another very exciting topic to talk about. From hurt to healing, tales of triumph. That is what this series is called. We are working through the trauma-informed coaching course that I teach. I'm giving it to you all for free because I want to actually see some beneficial change in this world. There's no point gatekeeping secrets and trying to essentially help a very few finite amount of people that can actually afford the help. I want to be able to, I've always said, I want to be able to help everybody, help as many people as I physically can. So I ran some ads recently about parenting power pack and how this can actually benefit your children. Now, the reason that this can benefit your children and yourself, obviously you're all beautiful people. This is what, obviously not everybody out there is going to be wonderful, it's going to be beautiful, and it's going to be good in their own way. But there's the majority of people out there, especially the people watching this video, taking in this series that's going to come and actually accepting and changing and developing. They are the people who I want to help. And I've come to the very strong conclusion, unfortunately, I can't help everybody. Not everybody wants to be helped. So this series is going to be about helping people who want to be helped in the first place. Like I say, not everybody can be helped, and that is just something I've got to accept, and that's something that is going to come, and it's just going to be one of those things. So I'm not stressing about it too much. At the end of the day, I'm going to be able to help the people who are able to help. And I think some of the life lessons that, the first lesson that we're going to be learning in this series, From Hurt to Healing, Tales of Triumph. Now, the reason this series is called Hurt to Healing's Tales of Triumph is because everybody who's been through a traumatic experience has been hurt of some description, and we all want to be healed. We all want to be, across the other line, and we all want to be there. Now, the reason I'll immediately shoot that down is that the healing journey never really ends. You can be a lot better than you were, and you can be in a lot better position than you were 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 3 months ago, yesterday, by simply implementing the things that we're going to be going over, speaking about in this series. Now, it's very important that we understand knowledge and we understand why we do the things that we do and how we do them. So through the series of Hurt to Healing, Tales of Triumph, we're going to be exploring why we do the things that we do, why your bodies do the things that we do, how we get triggered. There's going to be so many different things that we're going to cover. We're going to cover the polyvagal system, we're going to cover our 5 senses, we're going to cover how to ground yourself, we're going to cover emotional regulation, we're going to cover EFT, we're going to cover ACE score, we're going to cover so much. We're going to cover every single thing that I teach on my trauma toolkit, the 10 Pillars of Trauma course. Now, the reason that the reason that I want to do this, the reason that I'm doing all of this for free is because I have been there myself. I've been through over a decade of trauma. My trauma story is coming out at the end of this series. So if you find this series helpful and you want to know why and what I've been through in as much detail as I can put online, and stick around to the end of this series. So this is going to be a 12-week series, and we're going to go through everything. And what I want you to do throughout this series is actually implement the things that I say to do at the end of each video, basically. So we're going to talk through why, each video, we're going to talk through why you should do the things that I'm suggesting that you do, and how that's going to then help. And you'll notice that it's going to be very small changes, okay? Very small implemented changes that, realistically, you might not see is going to make a drastic change, but over the 12 weeks, hopefully these tools and techniques actually build up and you are able to make a massive change in your life without actually having made a massive change in your life, right? For example, before I started teaching this course, I thought to make a massive change in your life, you had to change your environment on a very drastic scale. Okay, changing your environment's always been something that's helped me, which is something we will cover more in detail next week. But the point of it is I thought I had to change your environment. I thought people had to change their environment drastically, which is why I went to Australia. I very quickly realized that it's not the environment you've got to change, it's your own internal environment. Okay, now this is something that you have to start immediately, and this is something this is the first lesson, okay, and it's something we will cover more in detail in, which is positive affirmations, in weeks to come. I think that's like week 8, week 9, okay, something you've got to work towards. But It's something that you have to change immediately, and it's something that is going to massively, drastically change your life. And it's how you speak to yourself, right? When you're on your own, whether you speak to yourself differently when you're with other people or not. Obviously, we all put ourselves down subconsciously. We all do that, but you've got to change the way you speak to yourself massively. Rather than saying I can't do this, you've got to say I can do this, or at least I'm going to try and do this. Okay, huge. Okay, got to start doing that. Like I say, we're going to cover more positive affirmations down the line because it is massive. But if it's something you can do now, something you can do today, then do it. That's this week's little bit of homework that you can just start rolling through. Like I say, we're going to cover it more down the line. Now, the reason I bring up Australia is because I thought going to Australia was going to change my life, was going to drastically change everything, but it didn't change the person I was, because it didn't change what I wanted out of life. And what I wanted out of life was to be healed, was to be sorted, was the trauma to go away. Okay, now you have to understand that the trauma is never going to go away. It's always going to be within you. It's always going to live within you. It's always going to be a part of who you are, and that is okay. That is absolutely fine, because that trauma is making you who you are today. Now, something that it took me a long time to realize is embracing the trauma and actually embracing who you are, who you want to be, and using that trauma to be able to do what you want to do. Now, I've spoken to so many people who use the trauma for positivity, like I do, try and help people through my own experience, and obviously created the trauma toolkit with my mum. Between us, we've got 3 decades of trauma, sexual and physical assault, mental assault, financial, you name it, we've been through it, right, between the two of us. And so that is what we want to help people with, because we've been through it ourselves. Now, running away is not going to sort your problems. It's not, ever. Massively, right? And you have to stay and you have to fight your problems. How do you stay and you fight your problems? You have to fight them slowly. And it all starts from within, okay? Now, I've made a lot of videos about a lot of different things, about getting out of the situation that you're in. I understand not everybody can just leave the situation that you're in. Changing your environment is something we're going to cover next week, which is super, super, super important. Changing your environment is massive. Now, what you need, imagine, right, you probably don't have to imagine, but when I was going through my shit, I was in like a pit of depression, right? Imagine this cup, your pit. Yeah, you're at the bottom, you can't get out, right? The sides are nice and smooth, there's nothing to grip onto, yeah? You're just drowning, right? I'm drinking coffee with me, you're drowning in it, in your depression, in your anxiety, in your trauma, in the thoughts and the triggers, right? I've been there, sometimes day to day, you're there anyway. You always fall backwards, right? 1 step back, or is it 1 step forward, 2 steps back? Yeah, that's it, 1 step forward, 2 steps back. It's always the way life is going to work, it's what life throws at you, right? But what you have to realize is if life is throwing you loads of shit, it's because you're meant for more. Let me say that again. If life is throwing you a bunch of shit, it's because you are meant for more, right? So if you've been through, and I know it's horrible, I know it's not fair, right? Because it's not fair to go through sexual assault, to go through any kind of rape, to go through any kind of physical abuse. It's not fair. But the way that I look at it, and the way that I teach other people to look at it, is that if you have gone through those heinous, horrible things, it's because you're destined for greatness, right? Because not everybody has been through those things, and it's shameful doing the things, of course, that's wrong. And I think everybody who sexually assaults people or rapes or anything like that, if you do that to somebody, I feel like that you should be shot, end of story, right? But the people who it has been done to, now considering I am one of those people, right, we simply in that category are meant for greater things, because we have been through a load of shit. That is what I'm trying to say. So if you feel like you're at the bottom of your pit of depression and you're going through a lot of shit that you don't feel like it's fair going through, because it's not fair going through, but at the end of the day, I believe you are destined for greatness. You are destined for things that will shoot you to stardom, provided you actually do the things that you need to do to get you there. Obviously, we can all wallow in our self-pity. I've wallowed for years, right? When I was addicted to drugs and I just wanted to numb the pain of actually what I'd been through and what I'm going through, and the anxiety and the depression and the shit. You just sit there and you wallow in it, right? We all need our time of wallowing. I believe we all need to sit there and wallow for ourselves and feel sorry for ourselves. But at some point, that has to stop. You can't sit there and wallow for yourself forever. And therefore, at that time, you need a plan. That is what we're speaking about today. That is the goal for this week. Between this week and next week episode, I want you to write your plan, write your goals. And that is so important, because your goals now will be different than in 12 weeks time. If you follow this course and you actually learn from this course and you do the things I suggest you do, I promise you, you will be unrecognizable in 12 weeks time, right? So first and foremost, biggest priority when making a big shift in your life is goals. I don't know what goals I have. I don't know what I want to do in life. I don't know anything. That's fine. This is when you start with a brainstorm. We've all been there. I didn't know where I wanted to start. All I knew I wanted to do when I began this journey last year was I knew I wanted to help other people. I knew I wanted to impart my knowledge onto other people. How do you do that? Well, for me, the easiest way to do that, obviously, is through social media, massively. But I know not everybody has the strength and the confidence to be able to stand up here and say, you know, about your abuse and about the things that you've been through. It's taken me a long time, good few years, for me to be able to stand here and say the things that I've been through very confidently and very empowerful, and let it empower me rather than let it drag me down. I know how hard that is. So that might not be your goal. You might not want to sit here and talk about all the things that you've been through, and that's fair enough, because these things that we've been through are heinous. What instead, you need to think about what you want in life. And I do not care how ridiculous people say it may be, or how ridiculous you even may think it may be. If you want, think about what you want. Top tier life, right? Write it down. At the top of the page, right? I don't care if it's multi-billionaire, playboy, philanthropist, right? If that's what you want, you write it down, right? Underneath that, and then you work it like a ladder, right? Again, think of it like a pit. Yeah, you're in the pit, you're at the bottom, you don't know what to do. You then build this ladder of goals so you can get out, so you can start making a plan of what to do and how to do it, and then you can look at what you need to do in order to do it, right down to the finest detail, okay? Now, multi-billionaire, playboy, philanthropist, right? How are you going to get there? How are you going to do it? There are two main ways that I know to be super successful like that. Either you learn trading and you learn how money works, right, which you'll need to learn anyway, and so that's basically it. That's the only way. You need to learn how money works. You need to then not necessarily trade, but you need to learn how money works, how you can leverage debt against yourselves, and then you can go into it many different ways. You either own a company, you own real estate, or you learn to day trade. They're the three main really good ways of actually earning wealth. Obviously, if you go down the day trade option, that's the most simple for most people, because you can just work your way down. You can sit at home and in your own time you can watch YouTube videos on how to day trade. You can learn day trading, and if you go on two trading, you can actually get free money to practice trading. So realistically, that's the easiest way of doing it, right? For me, right, for using my own experience, I wanted to help people. That was my top priority. Allow men to have a voice, to actually realize that the shit that we've gone through, the suicidal thoughts that we go through, right, is you aren't on your own. That was my top priority. So how do I then achieve that? I needed my own social media account, I need my own social media following, and I needed to create a company so I can actually help people. That was the route I decided to go down. I don't care about money particularly. It is what it is. If I earn no money in life, or provided I earn enough money to be able to live and support myself and support my family, that's really all I care about. I just want to be able to impart knowledge and help people, right? And that I can do for practically free. Buy a camera, start posting videos on YouTube. Simple as that. Start talking about my story, start opening up the lines of communication and dialogue for men going through trauma, because it isn't, you can still be a strong, powerful man and admit, you know, you're wrong, the things that you've gone through and the things that you do. I know a lot of men who are very like, oh, I'm very recluse, I don't want to talk about these things, and I feel like it's down to shame, because men aren't allowed to speak out and do these things, whereas women are. I feel like that's a barrier we need to break down. We don't need to become less of a man. We don't need to, you know, sit here and think, oh, I'm a female now because I speak about these things. Not at all. You can be a very strong, powerful man while still speaking about your feelings. There's a very finite line about it, right? So that is task 1, week 1 of Hurt to Healing, Tales of Triumph. Okay, so I'm going to be, each week I'm going to be digressing a little bit about my own personal experience, how that can then help you, and how what I teach actually helped me. So the goals helped me, right? When I was depressed and anxious and doing loads of drugs and feeling sorry for myself, I wanted a way out. I didn't know how to get out. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to do it, right? And then simply put, as I decided to just sit down one day when I was completely off my face as well, I might add, completely off my face. I sat down and I wrote down all my goals in my life, and I realized that if I sit down and keep doing drugs, I'm not going to be able to do any of those things. So that's the first thing that had to go, right? And then I started on the becoming sober journey, which was hard in and out of itself. Getting out of an addiction of any description is hard, and I was addicted to everything. I had a saying back in the day, you put it in front of me and I'll try it, right? Literally. And so it's quite sad, but like I say, all those negative experiences led me to who I am today, doing what I do, and that's what I love doing, being able to provide help and knowledge and passion in what I do, in my training, in my mental health stuff, whatever it is. I've triumphed in that. You know, my tales of triumph is because I've been through shit, and then I've been through shit, I've gotten better. I've been through shit, I've gotten better. And it's a cycle, and you just progressively, whether it's one step forward, 2 steps back, eventually you'll start taking 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps, and you will consistently, provided you do things consistently in the right direction, you're always going to be going in the right direction. It doesn't actually matter too much how slowly you go. Like I've always said, baby steps. You're not going to get better overnight. You're not going to get better in 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 2 or 3 months. You've got to look at this years and years and years in the future if you actually want to progress properly. It's the same with bodybuilding, powerlifting. You're not going to be able to deadlift 300 kilos in the space of a couple of months. It's going to take you years to get there. Not only is it going to take you years to get there, but it's going to take you years of consistent, hard training all the time. Your mental health is just as important as your physical health. And it is just as hard and strenuous and time consuming and painful as it is, right? So important. So that's what got me initially out of my pit of depression and out of my drug addiction, was actually having goals and knowing what I want to do in life. And then, like I say, you write it down to the finite amount of detail. So to be able to help people, I needed a social media account. To be able to provide a service to people, I needed a payment method. To be able to provide to actually get myself out there and expose myself and get myself out there, and I needed to have a website, I needed to have promo photos. To be able to have that, I needed to have a bio, and then blah 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 blah. You know, you work down the list, and then, you know, all of that correlated to building a website, getting a laptop, getting a camera, getting a tripod, all these different checklists of things, right, that I needed to do. Like I said, this was a very monetary based thing for me. I needed to buy a camera, I needed to get a laptop, I needed to do all of these things that required me to have equipment, right? You don't, depending on what you want to do in life, you don't need to spend hundreds of pounds or thousands of pounds on equipment to be able to do what you want to do. You can break it down so it's all free, and you just start making the walk in the right direction. You change the path that your life is expected to go, and you start changing things yourself, how you want to do it. But it all comes from within. You have to want to do it. If you don't want to do it, like I said at the beginning of the video, if you do not want to change, you will not change. When I say want to, I mean do or die. If you stay on the path that you're currently at, you're going to end up in prison or die or have a shit life, and you're going to complain about it when you're 50, or you can do something about it now, right? And it doesn't matter what age you are, right? You have to want to change. You can be 22 knowing that you're going down the wrong road. I've got a client who's 19. He knew he was going down the wrong road with drink, drugs, fighting, all that kind of stuff, and he has drastically changed his life. He's now at home with his mum, watching movies. He's in the gym 3 or 4 times a week. He's changed his life around in the space of a couple of months, because he knew he was going down the wrong road and he knew he had to change, right? I've had other clients do the exact same thing, right? And it doesn't matter how old you are. I've got another client, she's amazing, she's 40 odd, I can't remember her exact age, but she knew she was going down the wrong path of drink, drugs, alcohol, those things, right? And she's now in hospital because of the things that are going on internally, because she's been doing drugs for so many years, right? She is now come to me and changing her life physically and mentally, because she knew that if she continues down this road, she's going to die early. It's as simple as that. And it doesn't matter how old you are, where you start in this path, where you realize, where you have that epiphany moment that if you don't change, you're going to put yourself in an early grave, or you're going to have a shit life for the rest of your life, and that's not what you want. So it begins very simply with getting a piece of paper and a pen and writing your goals down, what you want out of life. It doesn't matter how old you are, it doesn't matter how ridiculous it may seem. your goals, and anybody can achieve anything they want. Like I say, if you've been through this trauma and you've been through this shit, then you're destined for more, because life does not throw the shit at you if you are not able to cope with it and if you are not able to manage it. And we're all here, we're all breathing, and we all deserve to be who we are meant to be. Whew, that was a lot of words very quickly. You get me started on this kind of topic of conversation and I just, but please comment your thoughts down below. If you're following the journey, if you're along with us for the ride, I'd love to know your thoughts and feelings and your goals and your plan. And please reach out to me and show me a photo of your goal list, and we can, you know, I can add advice where you want me to, where you need me to. I'd love to see all your personal goals and journey. I'd love to actually get a community going of like-minded people who are trying to help each other and actually further themselves in their goals. Please guys, give this video a like, a follow, and make sure you share this with people who you think might actually be beneficial for. Other than that guys, I hope you have a fantastic day, and make sure you tune in for next week where we talk about suicide prevention and we discuss loads of other things. But other than that guys, have a fantastic day. I'll see you in the next one.